Good morning students. Today we will do a Hartley oscillator. As we know that Hartley oscillator is a very popular oscillator and is widely used in radio frequency receivers as a local oscillator due to different reasons. First one is that it is very easy to tune, and the second one is their adaptability to a wide range of frequencies. So based upon this, there are two types of Hartley oscillator. One is the series fed oscillator and second one is the shunt fed oscillators. But in case of series fed oscillator, Hartley oscillator has some disadvantages which we can avoid it in shunt fed oscillators. So today we will discuss the shunt fed oscillator. This is the circuit diagram of shunt fed oscillator. Here we have used a common emitter transistor. This emitter one is the common in between the input and output part. And in this type, collector circuit is divided into two parallel paths. One path is connected to the VCC through a RFC, that is a radio frequency choke, and the second path provides the direct current, keeping the alternating current out, because here we have placed a capacitor, because as we know that capacitor blocks DC, so it provides a path to the alternating current. And the other branch, that this one capacitor branch, is connected to a two inductor coil, that is L1 and L2. So it will provide a LC tank circuit, and which will provides further the path for the alternating current, keeping the direct current out. And there are three resistors, R1, R2 and RE, and voltage supply VCC, which also helps us in establishing the operating point of the transistor in active region. And the frequency determining network, that is L1, L2 and C, that C is our variable capacitor, and coil L1 is inductively coupled to the L2, and this combination is also act as a auto transformer. Here we have connected a variable capacitor C across the coils. The capacitor C and capacitor C1 and resistance R2, both these produce the self bias base voltage, while the capacitor CE provides the AC ground and prevent any signal degenerations. And the CE also provides us temperature stabilization. So with the help of variable capacitor, we can adjust the frequency of the oscillation. Since we have used the common emitter transistor, it introduces a 180-degree phase shift between the input and output voltage, and the feedback circuit is further again by means of auto transformer, which also further introduce a phase shift of 180 degree. Hence total phase shift of 360 degree will be appeared between the output and input voltage, resulting in the positive feedback in case of Hartley oscillators. So now we will discuss the circuit operation. Here when we press the key, or we can say when we switch key is closed, so then current starts build up and it will start the charging of the capacitors. When the capacitor is fully charged, it discharges through the coils L1 and L2, setting up a natural oscillations in the tank circuits. And these oscillation induce variable voltage and which is further applied to between the base and emitter, these through this terminal. As we know that due to this feedback, the variation in IB are amplified, that is beta times, which will further appear in the collector part, because as a output. Okay. So therefore feedback energy from the collector emitter circuit to the base emitter circuit is accomplished by a means of mutual inductance between the L1 and L2. In this way, the energy is continuously supplied by the tank circuit to overcome the losses, so the continuous undamped output is obtained. So now we will discuss the analysis. For the analysis, we will study the equivalent circuit of common emitter hybrid model. Here we have used RFC, but the value of radio frequency choke is less than the current, hence we have this term omitted from the equivalent circuit. And as we know that capacitor CC block DC and provides an AC path from the collector to the tank circuit, so it will also act as an open circuit at a zero frequency, and the capacitor C1 has low reactance at the frequency of oscillations, and so that's why we have also omitted it from the circuit. And the resistance R1, R2 and RE, they are very large, so they will not affect the AC operation of the circuits. Now this is the equivalent circuit in case of common emitter. So here IB is our input current and HREV2 is our voltage source, HFEI1 is our current source. So here we have considered RFC is less than I2 and R1, R2, RE also large, C1 will also not affect upon the operation. I1 is our feedback current and IB is our input current, and for the feedback circuit the I1 should be either equal to IB or greater than IB. So for the current situation we have considered the IB is equal to I1. And now here we will again convert the current source into voltage source by using a Thevenin theorem, as this one is HFE I1 is our current and HOE is our conductance. So voltage is equal to current divided by conductance, and which is equal to HFE I1 divided by HOE. So again when we convert the current source into voltage source, then our circuit diagram will becomes like this. So HOE is our conductance, but 1 by HOE is our resistance. So this is the voltage across this path. So voltage is equal to current divided by conductance minus of, because here is a negative sign, minus of HFE I1 divided by HOE, and this is input part. So now the critical condition we have considered here is IB is equal to I1, and let I1, I2, I3, we have divided this whole circuit into three parts. In one circuit we have considered current I1 flows through the part, and second one is I2, and third one is I3 current, and all these values are not equal to 0. Now we will apply a Kirchhoff law. First we apply a Kirchhoff law on the part 1. So let's take a clockwise rotation. The voltage across resistance HIE is equal to I1 into HIE plus HREV2. Here when the current flows through the circuit it will be I1, but here from the opposite direction the current I3 flows through the inductor L1. So the net amount of current flows through the L1 is I1 minus I3, and its reactance is XL1. So it will becomes JXL1. I1 minus I3 is equal to 0. So this is our first loop, and second loop is the voltage value across the circuit is I2 by HOE minus HFE I1 by HOE, and the current flows through the circuit is I2. It will move along this direction, and the current I3 will also follow the same path. So the total current passes through the coil L2 is JXL2 I3 plus I2 is equal to 0. This is our second equation. And the third path is when we consider a direction of current along the I3. So I3 current passes through the L1, but the current I1 is moved in opposite direction to the I3. So the net current passes through the L1 is I3 minus I1 into XL1, and in this case both are in same direction. So I2 plus I3 is across the L2. But at this point again current will be divided into two direction. The I2 will move in upward and I3 will move into downward direction. So it will pass through a capacitor. So its value is minus JXC I3. So now we have three equations as by using Kirchhoff's law. So let's rearranging this equation. We will separate out the values of I1, I2 and I3. So this term will give value of I1. From here HI1, HIE, and from here JXL1, and from here HFE, HOE multiplied by HRE, and this term will give us the value of I2, and this one will give us value of I3. This is from the equation number 1. Similarly we will rearrange the terms in equation number 2 and equation number 3. After rearranging we will get these type of equations. This is I1, this is I2, this is I3, and similarly I1 value, I2 and I3. As we had already considered that I1, I2, I3 are the non-zero values, so their determinant must be equal to 0. So let's take the value of I1 here, I2, I3. Similarly from equation number 2, I1, I2 and I3. Equation number 3, I1, I2 and I3. So as we know that at the frequency of oscillation is omega square is equal to 1 by LC, but here we have considered two coils, so omega square is equal to 1 by L1 plus L2 into C. Both are connected in series combination. So by cross multiplication, omega square L1 plus omega square L2 is equal to 1 by C. And let's take omega common, then we will get omega L1 plus omega L2 is equal to 1 by C, or omega L1 plus omega L2 is equal to 1 by omega C. And we know that omega L1 is our XL1, omega L2 is our XL2, and omega C is our XC is equal to 0. Let's multiply both sides by J. So we will get JXL1, JXL2 minus JXC is equal to 0. So substitute this value in the determinant part. So this term will becomes equal to 0. So we will left with all this term, but here we will get 0 value. So on substituting the value here, then we will solve the determinant by considering this term and this term. So first one will be positive, second one is negative. Let's open the determinant by using this term. So minus jx2. So leave the row and column. So that means jxl2 is multiplied by this minus of this. Then you will get this term. Then again with this term. So multiply this term by plus this term. So again by rearranging the terms, you will get xl2 square of this terms minus hfe hoe xl1 xl2 hre hoe xl1 xl2 and these things. So to sort out these equations, let's take real part of the equation is equal to 0. So here we have value j, that means this part is imaginary part. Again this term is imaginary part, but this term is real. This multiplied by this is also real, this one is real, and this one is real. So collect all these real terms and make them equal to 0. So after rearranging, we will get this equation HIE HOE HFE HRE XL2 square, XL1 XL2 same, HRE minus HFE XL1 square. Whole is divided by term, whole term is divided by HOE. So when we multiply it in on right hand side, so it will also becomes 0. So here we have considered two cases, HR is less than HFE, and second one is we know that HIE HOE minus HFE HRE is equal to delta HE. So substitute here, then we will get delta HE XL2 square. Here this will equal to 0, so minus HFE XL1 XL2 and XL1 square. So we will get finally the quadratic equation in XL2. To find out the solution of XL2, we have to sort out the quadratic equation, that is equal to minus b plus minus b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. Minus b, this is b square is this one, minus 4a is our delta HG, c is our XL1 square divided by 2a. And by opening the square root common terms, here is XL1 square is common, so it will become simple x1 because here is a square root when we sort out the square root. So we will get HFE square minus 4 delta HE. Here again we consider if HFE square is very greater than these terms, then this term will be neglected. So we will left with HFE square root. Square root is cancelled with square. So we have only HFE plus minus HFE. When we do minus, then we will get 0 value. So we will consider only a positive terms. We have 2 HFE divided by 2 delta HE. 2 will be cancelled. So we will have HFE. We will get HFE divided by delta HE omega L1. So cancel out the omega on both sides. L2 is equal to HFE divided by delta HE into L1. So this is the condition for sustained oscillation, but we have not considered here the mutual inductance. So to remove the complexity of the system, so we have considered only here inductance of the coils, but we have not considered here the mutual inductance. But when we consider the mutual inductance, the solution will be L2 plus M HFE delta HE L1 plus M. That means we will get this L2 plus M HFE divided by delta HE L1 plus M. So this is the condition for sustained oscillations. Thank you.